Box Free with Stephanie. Today I'm going to show you how to make some simple foods with basic ingredients from scratch. And I hope you discover cooking box free is fast and delicious. So let's cook together. Today we are making spinach lasagna roll ups. They're just a very fun, I think easier way to eat lasagna. So the first thing I'm going to do is make my cheese mixture. So I'm going to put 1 egg in my bowl, and then to that I'm going to add one 15-ounce container of ricotta cheese. That just glops in there. And then we're going to add half a cup of grated parmesan cheese. And I always just use the cheapy kind like this, whatever, the easy kind. So there's half a cup. We're going to stir these 3 things together, mostly because this ricotta is like all stuck together, and we need to get that, we need to get our egg worked in with our parmesan. And in these kind of like cheesy Italian dishes, my understanding is that the egg is really what is your binder. So sometimes the cheese is kind of melty enough, or and kind of sticks together enough, but the egg really does hold everything together nicely. So that's what you're looking for, a nice, kind of looks like you've whipped some eggs or something, or made a really frothy, crazy muffin. Okay, then I have here like 10 ounces of frozen spinach, and I haven't really done anything with it except let it thaw, so it's really watery, and you don't want to put that in your lasagna roll-ups because then you'll just have a bunch of watery stuff. So look at that, crazy. I need to get a bowl maybe. Frozen spinach has so much liquid in it. So I'm just going to take my hands and try to squeeze a bunch out. You can do this with like paper towels. I have paper towels kind of ready to go also, but I think this might actually work pretty good. I guess I do it different every time. Sometimes I put it in a towel, but then that can kind of make everything green. When I want a green towel, then I use my towel, which is not very often. So I think this works pretty good, but you could do it. There's all kinds of ways to do it. You could put it in a bowl and then put it in a sieve and then put a bowl on top and squish it out. If you have like a potato masher, you can jam it in there and squeeze it out. But see, you definitely don't want all that liquid in there. So I think this is pretty good. Oh my gosh, look at all that. It's crazy how much liquid is in here. Wow. So that 10-ounce bag of spinach gives you like a baseball size of spinach. And I'm going to call this pretty good. I mean, you can have a little bit of moisture. You just don't want this much moisture. So I'm going to drop that in. I'm going to go over to the sink and get rid of this before I make a huge mess. Rinse my hands. Okay, and now I'm going to stir this in and then get my noodles ready. I think this is a pretty fast, what is it, a meal? A fast meal to make, because you just have to cook your lasagna noodles and add the cheese mixture. So and then you bake it. It's pretty simple. So this is what you're going for, just a nice green mixture. And that's kind of it for now. Then we'll put some mozzarella on top when we get ready to bake it. Okay, so now I still have my green spinach. I don't really want that all over. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take this dish towel and just lay it out, and I have 8 lasagna noodles in here because I like to make this, I might like to make 8 roll-ups because usually I have 4 people eating, and then we each get 2. And that seems to be enough for a meal with a vegetable and bread or dessert or whatever. So these were cooked, and then they were rinsed and basically put in here with cold water just to sit. So they've been sitting maybe like a half hour or something while I was kind of waiting to do this part. You just need to keep them moist and so they don't dry out if you're not ready. So then I'm just going to kind of pat these. So I don't always do this. If I'm in a hurry, I sometimes just rinse them and then kind of grab them right out of the pan and lay them on my counter and do it that way. But since I'm doing it this way today, I'm going to pat them dry a little bit. And they don't have to be like super dry. They just need to be relatively dry. You don't want all that water in your roll-ups. And then I just have to lay these out. I'll probably pull them down closer to me. Whoopsie. So what you're doing is laying out your lasagna strips so that you can put all your good cheese inside of there and roll it up. And that's why we get the spinach lasagna roll ups. It's pretty easy. Okay, so now what I start to do is just put a decent amount kind of in the middle of each one, because I've never really taken the time to measure this or like do the math and figure out how much I have and then divide that by 8 and then actually like I could do a half a cup for each one. I haven't done that, which I probably should, but you just don't. You just eyeball it. It doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure that one noodle doesn't have, like this thick and somebody else doesn't have any. So it doesn't really have to be that perfect. That's one of the reasons I like cooking from scratch. You can just do whatever you want to. Make your lasagna noodles perfect or make them not so perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna put more on here and maybe more on here. Okay, and then usually I just use my fingers because it's just fast and you have a lot of control, and you have to just smash it all along your lasagna noodle. And it goes pretty quick. So it's a little bit messy. You could have a little kid do this part. Say like, squish it all out there, and they would probably think it's just great. The ricotta cheese makes it feel almost like sand, or I don't know, like granular, just a little bit. But this can be messy, and some people say that you should put this on wax paper, like put wax paper down and then put your noodles down, but I just wipe my counter off and then I just use my counter. So if you feel better about having wax paper underneath your noodles, you can certainly do that. Whatever you do, just make it, because it's pretty good. So that's all you're looking for, just like that. Just kind of evenly dispersed among your noodles. Okay, then we're going to get ready to put these into our pan, but before I put them in my baking pan, I need to put just a little bit of sauce in there, and I just use jarred sauce. I don't make my homemade tomato stuff. I make tomato soup, but I've never succeeded in making a good pasta sauce or pizza sauce even. So I just don't. I've given up. So there I go. And I'm also, when I make this recipe, because this doesn't have any meat in it, I usually choose a spaghetti sauce that does have meat in it. So like this one is an Italian sausage one. And that's generally what I pick because I just seem to like that. So you don't have to have a meat in your sauce if you didn't want to. It's just totally up to you. But because this is just a really cheesy, like just cheese and noodles, I like a little bit of meat flavor on mine. But any sauce that you love, you can put in here. And so then you just kind of gingerly roll all these up, and then you got this big seam, and you just put that on the bottom so that you have nice round tops on your showing side of your baking dish, the part that everybody will see. So then we're almost done. And then all you have to do is put them in the oven. You wait about 20 minutes. You need to get this all baked through so that your cheese is nice and melty. You certainly wouldn't want to have cold cheese. And this ricotta really does get nice and smooth. So you certainly want to wait for it to get nice and baked through. So you put it at 350, and it usually takes 20 minutes. Maybe 30 if your noodles are really cold, or maybe 15 if they're really hot. But I've tried this with hot noodles, and obviously doesn't work very well because the noodles are so hot. But I've been really impatient and try to just rinse it off and get them out there, and I'm just touching these hot noodles, and it's not very fun. So I've kind of stopped doing that. Okay, so then my recipe calls for half a cup, whoopsie, I gotta put this on first, half a cup of cheese, and I was gonna say I don't really measure that either, I just put it on until it looks like enough. So then you just really wanna dump your sauce on each of your roll-ups, and then I just shake out the rest. So I'm just gonna kinda make sure that, I wanna make sure all my lasagna noodles are kind of covered so that they don't get too dried out. But like on the side here, it's kind of okay. Down on each side, it's okay. It's really just the top that I'm kind of worried about. And this is where I don't measure. So I just take my cheese, and you just want to have a little bit of cheese, kind of just for looks. I mean, my gosh, you have plenty of cheese in there already, but this just makes it look really pretty. So, so that's it. And maybe that's not even half a cup, but we're going to say it is. It probably is. And then, I forgot, I'm going to cover this with foil, but you don't want your cheese to really stick to it. So you kind of, if you can make a little tent when you want shiny side down, make a tent when you kind of come to put it on, like that almost. Then like that. See how that's a nice tent? Then if you can keep that tent nice and high, it might not get on your cheese. Kind of like that. And you're just doing the lid to keep the cheese moist and kind of heat it faster. So this isn't like super secure, and I'm okay with that. I'm just going to put it in there just like that. So that was pretty fast. So we're going to throw this in. Okay. I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes, and then I'll check my cheese and see how it looks, and we'll go from there. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back. It's actually been about 35 minutes. I just didn't feel like my cheese was getting melty enough, so I let it sit for 30 minutes, and then I took the cover off and I let it sit for 5 minutes, and I'm going to call this done. So that's what it looks like. Oopsie. So if you added more cheese, you'd have more of just a white, melty cheese instead of like the stringy look. But I don't really mind the stringy look like that. And so you just want to make sure that kind of in the middle your cheese is all melted. That means your sauce is hot, and usually it's kind of boiling around here, bubbling and stuff. So you just want to make sure it's nice and warmed up. So I'm going to take out a roll up, and I'll show you how. So usually when I do this, I would put like 2 on each person's plate or whatever, and then that's kind of how we eat them. But I'm just going to do 1 right now, and then I always use a knife to cut them because they really are kind of hard to cut. So, so you just want that nice melty cheese, and then you just dig into it, kind of eat however you want to. So I'm going to I better take a smaller bite. Not going to do very well if I take a huge one. So you're just looking for the ricotta to get nice and melted, and then we'll try it out. So this wasn't necessarily very salty, which I think is okay, but the ricotta with the spinach is really nice. It does have a really good spinach taste. And again, if you had more meat, you could put meat even on the top if you want, but I really prefer just the low meat taste, like even with this stuff, because it's just in the sauce, it's not a very strong meat taste, and I like that for this dish. So there is your spinach lasagna roll-ups. They're really cute and kind of easy to serve, and I think kind of easy to make. So thank you very much for watching Box Free with Stephanie. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you make lasagna roll-ups and your family thinks they're great. And you can also add stuff and whatever to them, kind of, jazz it up for what your family likes. Thank you for your time. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.